World leaders across 7 major nations gathered here at Cornwall in southwest England to attend the annual G7 summit in June 2021. The grouping, also known as the Group of Seven, along with the non-enumerated European Union, maintains mutually close economic, military and diplomatic relations amongst its members. The G7 comprises of the world's most developed economies and makes up to about 45% of the global economy. With around 10% of the global population, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely hit G7 countries.
I'm very pleased to announce that this weekend, leaders have pledged over 1 billion doses, either directly or through funding to COVAX. That includes 100 million from the UK.
After the cancellation of the G7 2020 due to the pandemic last year, US President Joe Biden said that,
"We're apart. America is back at the table." I think we're in a contest, not with China per se, but a contest with autocratic governments around the world.
While the UK hosted the G7 this year along with a few set of invitees, there's one major country that's missing since 2014, Russia.
Russia is mobilizing tens of thousands of troops, and the U.S. circling the wagons with other world powers. Once known as the Group of Eight, but now known as the Group of Seven, G7, because Russia has been exiled.
Russian troops moving swiftly to take control of military bases in Crimea.
Choices that the Russian government has made. Choices that have been rejected by the international community, as well as the government of Ukraine.
Helicopters and armored personnel carriers.
Executive order that authorizes sanctions on individuals and
Although Russia did not have a Western-style democracy like other members of the G7, the country formally joined the grouping in 1997, when the then US President Bill Clinton encouraged Russia's inclusion as a gesture towards Russian President Boris Yeltsin. This was significant as the country collaborated with Western powers such as the US and the UK after years of geopolitical tensions and after the fall of the USSR in the 1990s. With Russia's inclusion, the grouping came to be known as the G8 in 1997, and its President Boris Yeltsin attended the summit for the first time. In 2006, President of Russia Vladimir Putin also hosted the G8 summit at St. Petersburg, and the other one was due to be organized in the resort city of Sochi, Russia in the June of 2014. But before that, this happened in the February of 2014.
It started as a peaceful protest in one of Europe's busiest capitals.
Fierce street battles raged in the Ukrainian capital Thursday, leaving several dozens dead and hundreds wounded.
It exploded into massive violence and bloodshed, now on the brink of a civil war.
Fighting flared up with renewed fervor between protesters and police in Kiev.
At issue, should Ukraine have closer ties to the US and Europe, or Putin's Russia?
To understand the violence that spilled over, we have to look at Ukraine. The country shares its borders with Russia. In 2010, Viktor Yanukovych rose to power as the president after the 2010 Ukrainian elections and was perceived as pro-Russian. He received much of his support from the eastern and southern regions of Ukraine. By the end of 2013, Yanukovych had rejected an association with the European Union, which the government had been negotiating since 2012. He instead opted for closer Russian ties by accepting a bailout. The decision sparked massive protests in the capital Kiev, and the situation worsened when the protests turned violent and killed over 130 people. The president was forced out of office and he fled to Russia for assistance. Russia took advantage of the situation in Ukraine and sent its troops to annex Crimea in the south of the country in 2014, the same year when a G8 summit was due in Russia. To gauge public opinion and justify Russian actions, a Crimean status referendum was implemented. 97% of the voter turnout voted in favor of integration into the Russian Federation, but this was not recognized by most countries. Russia's annexation of Crimea prompted a severe response from other G7 countries. The Group of 7 countries suspended the planned G8 summit in Russia. Russia announced its permanent departure from the G8 in 2017 after being a member to the forum for 17 years. Moreover, over the years, calls for Russia's rejoining grew louder when former US President Donald Trump advocated for it. Russia's return to the grouping does not seem possible, at least in the foreseeable future.